Let us pray. We give thanks to God for the rich heritage of this province as found in our people. We pray that native-born Albertans and those who have come from other places may continue to work together to preserve and enlarge the precious heritage called Alberta. Amen.
Introduction of visitors.
Member for Durham-Heller.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to all members of the Assembly, a friend and former colleague of many members of our Assembly, the former member for Stony Plain and presently the Mayor of Wabamun, Mr. Bill Purdy. He's sitting in your gallery and is accompanied by Mr. Willie Cass, a student visiting our province from New Zealand. I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
And again from Durham-Heller.
Mr. Speaker, it's also my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to all members of the Assembly, Mr. Danny Nishlis, the Executive Director of the Canadian Zionist Federation. He is accompanied today by two young people from Israel. They are students visiting our province also, Miss Mazur Matskevich and Mr. Amir Oran, and I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees.
Tabor Warner.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Motion 14 passed by this Assembly on August the 15th of 1989, I am pleased to table a report and recommendations of the Select Special Committee on Electoral Boundaries.
Notices of motions.
Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, it is my intention at the end of question period to request under Standing Order 40 unanimous consent to deal with the following motion. Be it resolved that this Assembly wishes to commemorate today as International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination declared by the United Nations, and that this Assembly is of the opinion that in the context of recent incidents of racism, racial discrimination can be reduced in Alberta through the leadership of members of this Assembly, and that this Assembly urges the government to take immediate and substantive action to provide financial and policy support to programs throughout the government which will work towards the elimination of racial discrimination in every aspect of Alberta society. I have 85 copies.
Calgary McKnight.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise under Standing Order 40 to give notice that at the conclusion of question period, I will seek unanimous consent from this legislature to deal with the following motion. Be it resolved that, in recognition of today being International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, the Assembly of Alberta make clear its strong support for the goal of ending all discrimination in Alberta, and as an indication of its strong support for this goal, the Assembly extend its congratulations to the federal government on its decision to allow Sikhs in the RCMP the right to wear turbans while on duty. I have 90 copies.
Edmonton Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, after question period, I will rise under Standing Order 40 to seek unanimous consent of the Assembly to present the following motion. Be it resolved that the Assembly congratulate the federal government for its prompt recognition of the new government of Namibia. This government was recently elected in an historical event, the first democratic election held in the newly independent state after years of foreign domination by the apartheid government of South Africa.
The chair would like to point out that when we get through question period today and various points of order, the chair will be dealing with the three requests for Standing Order 40 in this following manner. Number 1, Calgary McKnight. Number 2, Edmonton Gold Bar. Number 3, Edmonton Avonmore. And that's the order in which notice was given to my office. Thank you.
Introduction of bills.
Minister, Workers, Health.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 15, the Workers' Compensation Amendment Act 1990. This being a money bill, Her Honor, the Honorable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends the same to the Assembly. The purpose of this bill, Mr. Speaker, is to provide additional benefits to the injured worker.
The Honourable Minister of Occupational Health and Safety has moved first reading of Bill number 15. Those members in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number 15, Workers' Compensation Amendment Act 1990, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Trinchy, is now read a first time.
Member for Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to request leave to introduce Bill number 245, an act to amend the Alberta Health Care Insurance Act. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this act is to extend Alberta health care coverage to include services and supplies needed for the treatment of diabetics.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Glengarry has moved first reading of Bill 245, an act to amend the Alberta Health Care Insurance Act. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number 245, an act to amend the Alberta Health Care Insurance Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Decor, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Provincial Treasurer.
Mr. Speaker, I wish leave to introduce, or at least to table, a series of statutory requirements as required by the code, by various codes, including the 1988-89 public accounts, the audited statement of the Treasury Department, the annual report, the activities and audited financial statements of the government land purchases, a statement of payments to MLAs and direct associates required in the Legislative Assembly Act, reports of amounts paid to MLAs on boards also required in the Legislative Assembly Act, response to motion for return 204-89. As well, Mr. Speaker, I'll be filing copies of the supplementary public accounts, which are normally filed at this time, along with the requirements for the public accounts, and as well financial statements for 354713 Alberta Limited.
Introduction of special guests.
Another tabling Minister of Municipal Affairs couldn't be seen because of the paperwork.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to table the 1988-89 annual report of the Alberta Mortgage and Housing Corporation.
Thank you.
Introduction of special guests.
Member for Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you and through you to members of the legislature a grade 6 class from Rio Terrace School in the constituency of Edmonton Meadowlark. They are accompanied today by their teacher, Ms. Durocher, and by parents, assistants, Mrs. Elliker, Mrs. Winterton, Mr. Barmall, and Mr. Parker. I would ask that they all rise in the public gallery and receive the welcome of the members of the legislature.
Athabasca Lac La Biche, followed by Edmonton Gold Bar.
Aundo temtek nuit at skimagan the gmina. Kindas komt now and not. Ogut agapindo abngoyako kiwit no hochtos kayak. Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Legislative Assembly 26 students from the ABC Lac La Biche, They are accompanied by their teacher Richard Satchko and bus driver Albert Hapner, and they are seated at the public gallery. I would ask them to rise and receive the traditional welcome of this assembly. Thank you.
Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm privileged today to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Legislative Assembly a number of visitors with the Canadian Diabetes Association. Mr. Speaker, this is a voluntary society that provides excellent service in our province of Alberta. Those present are Mr. David Corey of Calgary, the Vice President Advocacy of the Society, Mr. Peter Portlock, the Executive Director from Edmonton, who are seated in the public gallery, and Mr. Wayne Oakes of Edmonton, Mr. Howard Blank of Calgary, Mr. Ralph Cartwright of Red Deer, and Ms. Colleen Preston of Red Deer, seated in the members' gallery. I'll ask them to, oh, they're all up there. I'll ask them to stand and receive the warm welcome of the House.
Edmonton Centre, followed by St. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce 25 students in social studies at the Alberta Vocational Centre, just up the street here in Edmonton Centre. They're members sitting both in the public and the members' gallery. I'd ask that they please rise and receive the welcome of the members of the Assembly.
Member for St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of my neighboring colleague, the Honourable Orny Isley, I would like to introduce to you and members of the Assembly 39 students from the Assumption Junior and Senior High School, Bonnyville constituency. They are accompanied by teacher Sib Stang, parents Mildred and Colin Spring Chief, Mrs. Bernadette Blackman, Mrs. Nick Rowley. They are seated in the members' gallery, and I would request that they rise and receive the traditional welcome of this Assembly.
Ministerial statements.
Minister of Labour.
Mr. Speaker, today is the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. The Honourable Doug Main, Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism, and Steve Zarewski, MLA Redwater Andrew, join me in inviting all members of this Assembly to recognize and support this important event. And indeed, all members will have on their desks the Diversity and Unity pin, courtesy of the Multicultural Commission. Across Alberta, a wide variety of organizations, in many cases with the participation of members of the Human Rights Commission, are renewing their pledge to work for a province and a world without racial discrimination. Our government's position has always been clear. We believe that all Albertans should be on a level playing field, with rules that are fair to all, and with no penalties based on what you look like, how you worship, or where you come from. In any society, and ours is no exception, there are a few people who, out of fear or frustration or ignorance, try to handicap those who belong to racial groups that are in the minority. In Alberta, this has penalized and hurt members of the Native community in particular, as well as many new Canadians from all over the world who have chosen Alberta as their home. Later today, Mr. Speaker, this Assembly will participate in the second reading of Bill 8, amending the Individuals' Rights Protection Act. This legislation is Alberta's rule book for fair play. It ensures that people who are unfairly discriminated against have a place to go for help. I know that the great majority of Albertans are dismayed by the mean-spirited behavior of a few of our citizens. Overwhelmingly today, as they have in the past, Albertans are drawing on the wellsprings of fair play and generosity of spirit that have made this the great province that it is. To let the world know that there is no room, Mr. Speaker, for racial discrimination in Alberta. On this special day, Mr. Speaker, I ask all members of this Assembly to join with me in reaffirming our faith in our diversity and to recognize that we are stronger and better when all Albertans treat each other with dignity and respect.
Here. Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, to reply to the ministerial announcement, it would be hard to disagree with the sentiment expressed in this ministerial announcement, Mr. Speaker. I think we all, I would hope, in this legislature believe in what the minister is saying. But I'd also want to say that it disturbs me, as I hope that disturbs other people, that there is, I believe, intolerance growing in the province. It was highlighted recently, as I mentioned in question period, by was becoming a big business dealing with pins, lapel pins, dealing with T-shirts and various other means of showing absolute discrimination. We can't ignore it, Mr. Speaker. I, like the minister, agree that it's probably a small minority, but it's a minority that has become very visible in the society, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say that the Minister of Multiculturalism said the other day that his department goes beyond that it's not concerned just with minority rights. I say that minister, he better learn what his department is all about, Mr. Speaker. And I also want to say that this was highlighted recently by the intolerance shown over the debate on the turban issue, dealing, of course, with Sikhs. But I want to say to other groups, if people can take an issue like that and deal with the Sikhs, they can do it with any other group in the society, mostly easily visible minorities. And I was not happy, not from this minister, but with the leadership shown on this issue from this government. Silence sends a message. Silence sends a message, Mr. Speaker. And so I'm saying to the minister, well, I agree with this, that she has to put some backbone in some of the other people across the way. And platitudes are not enough. Nice statements are not enough. We have to show leadership on this issue, Mr. Speaker.
Oral question period.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Occupational Health, Safety and Workers' Compensation Board. Mr. Speaker, the minister said yesterday that his department could not be blamed for the tragedy that occurred in Medicine Hat because, after all, they'd visited the place 16 times. Mr. Speaker, he conveniently forgot that 10 workers had serious lead poisoning and 3 children were in the hospital. His compassion was certainly underwhelming, to say the least, Mr. Speaker. But I find it absolutely indefensible that this minister would claim that workers are to blame when companies ignore his health and safety inspectors, Mr. Speaker. His own department says that lead levels above 2.5 micromoles per liter are dangerous. Dave LaDucier's level in December was 5.8. Marie Scotchy's level in December was 4.8. His daughter Samantha's level was 2.2, and she was 10 months old at the time, Mr. Speaker, and she was nowhere near the shop. My question to this minister, how can this minister justify dangerously high levels in these children and these workers 9 months after his department got involved?
Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned yesterday, it's unfortunate that we have this incident in Medicine Hat, but I think I want to set the record straight. At no time did I suggest that the worker was at fault. Let me go through the happenings at Medicine Hat. On January the 30th of 1989, the company accepted old car battery plastic casings. On February the 24th, 1989, Occupation Health and Safety received a complaint relating to guarding of pulleys, belts on the washer, etc. This was a safety complaint and not a health issue. On February the 24th, Occupation Health and Safety visited the site for the safety problem and at the same time identified a possible lead problem. The officer requested a hygienist to visit the site. The Occupation Health and Safety officer issued orders regarding guarding, sanitary conditions, electrical wiring, access and egress, and body protection. On March the 7th and on April the 26th, 1989, Occupation Health and Safety hygienist and officer provided guidance and instructions on control and personal protective equipment. A compliance order was also given regarding respiratory equipment and other safety hazards to be addressed. employer took responsibility to enforce and educate his employees. On May the 10th, 1989, a letter to the employee of the hygienist relating to the protection of equipment and engineering controls for the safety of workers. July the 20th.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Chair is watching the record from yesterday as well. Perhaps you could leave a few of the dates for supplementary questions, please. The point is being made.
Mr. Speaker, still didn't answer the question. The fact is that they still have these high lead counts in their bodies, Mr. Speaker, no matter how many visits they made. And he did. I saw him, Mr. Speaker, blame the workers. He said that they didn't shower properly and do all the rest of the things. For him to deny it here, Mr. Speaker, is ludicrous. But I have a question, Mr. Speaker, dealing with what he says were adequate warnings and safeguards and education of the workers, Mr. Speaker. The workers say this is nonsense. They did not have proper warnings about these things, Mr. Speaker. My question, I'll ask for Mr. Gauthier, who has a question of his officials. And he says, I'll ask the minister in charge for him right here in the legislature, Mr. Speaker. He wants to know why they are sitting at home with lead poisoning, why his kids are in the hospital, and what his department did to prevent it, Mr. Speaker. That's what the answer we want.
Mr. Speaker, I beg of you to allow me the time to run through what we've done and what we've accomplished at that site. Mr. Speaker, I can cut it short. We did 16 visits to that site in that period of time. We were informed on September the 28th by the physician that he was treating an employee for elevated blood lead levels. Mr. Speaker, on August the 14th of 1989, we had an occupational health and safety officer visit the site and instructed the employees and the employer with ways to protect the worker. Verbal instructions on use of protective equipment and hygiene was provided. The employer was also instructed on stringent hygiene practices that would include cleaning up the area, showers to be installed, education material, a copy of the Act, and material on lead exposure was left with the employer and the employees. The employer took the responsibility to continue the ongoing education of his worker. Mr. Speaker, to continue this, all workers were advised that the procedures were such that before leaving work, they must remove their contaminated garments, they must shower, clean up, scrub up, and put on clean clothes before they went home. Apparently, one or two of the workers did not follow these procedures, and that's unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, and it's sad that the children at home were contaminated by clothing and lead from the workers taken at home.
Mr. Speaker, to this minister, where was the enforcement? Because these things obviously didn't happen, Mr. Speaker. And my question is, how in the world are they supposed to shower, Mr. Speaker, with the amount of people working there when there are no showers and only 2 sinks sitting there, Mr. Speaker? How would you do it, Mr. Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the showers were installed, and they're there. Well, they certainly are, Mr. Speaker.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to designate my second question to the member from Edmonton Mill Woods.
Now you're in trouble. Here comes Mr. Ortega.
Go get him, Jerry.
Mr. Ortega. Be a bit more forceful, Jerry.
Mr. Speaker, some 5 months ago, the Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism released his report from the Alberta Multicultural Commission, Focus for the 90s, the first direction of which called for, and I want to quote here, the development of an environment in which Albertans respect and accept each other's cultural heritage, unquote. Now, I'd like to ask the Minister, since he's done absolutely nothing to achieve that goal in the last 5 months, and since today is the new end day for eliminating racial discrimination, will he stand in his place and announce some new concrete initiative to combat racism in Alberta?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased with the opportunity to stand again in my place and describe the work of the Multicultural Commission and the work of this government in eliminating racial discrimination. You heard the Minister of Labor deliver an eloquent address expressing the views of this government towards those who do harbor racist feelings. But I'm sure you'll agree that these are harbored and given evidence by pins and calendars and buttons and bumper stickers by a very, very few. It is true that the report of the Multicultural Commission was presented in last October, and the direction provided there is for the government to create an atmosphere in which, and you heard the quote, Mr. Speaker, that is our commitment. That has been the objective of this government all along, ever since it established the Multicultural Commission, and many, many years prior to that in its Cultural Heritage Division. We are going to continue to work towards those aims with a variety of policies, a variety of new programs, and a variety of initiatives that are taking place even now as we speak at the Multicultural Commission. And in the due course of time, you will see on the order paper, you will see legislation, and as you work through this time, you will see an ongoing effort aimed exactly at correcting the problem the honourable member describes.
Mr. Speaker, this minister is a joke. The editorial cartoonists are having a field day with this guy, and I want to ask this minister one more time. Will he stand in his place and show some concrete leadership in leading the fight against racism in Alberta? Yes or no?
Is the question, will I lead? The answer to that question is yes.
Mr. Speaker, let me put it to the minister this way. Will he abandon the ideological baggage that he carries from his association with the Racist Party of Canada, or I'll step down and let somebody else get on with the job?
In fact, would you care to withdraw the comment about a racist party? Thank you.
I withdraw that. I refer to the Reform Party of Canada.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member from Mill Woods obviously is unable to differentiate between the federal party and the provincial government that I now represent. Mr. Speaker, my commitment, as outlined in the various pieces of legislation for which I have responsibility that deal with multiculturalism, deal with race relations, deal with racism, the commitment that this government has to fostering an environment in which people from all nations are welcomed, in which people from all nations have ample and equal opportunity for access to all that is available here. That commitment, Mr. Speaker, is my commitment and will continue to be my commitment. And I suggest to the honourable minister, or the honourable member from Edmonton Mill Woods, that he pay close attention and see exactly what it is that is being done by this government and will continue to be done in the months ahead.
Edmonton Glengarry, Leader of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the provincial treasurer. Alberta has an unfunded pension liability of $9 billion with no plan to deal with the problem. Ontario has an unfunded pension liability of $5.7 billion and have instituted a 40-year pay-down plan of that liability, which costs Ontarians $142 million each and every year. If Alberta followed the same plan, the cost to Albertans each year would be $225 million a year. My first question to the Treasurer is this. The Treasurer has indicated through reports that negotiations are necessary with the stakeholders to talk about the benefits, to talk about how this matter can be resolved. Can the Treasurer inform the House when these negotiations will take place?
Speaker, the member from Glengarry has one question and one question only. I'm glad he keeps bringing it forward. It shows the lack of research, the lack of creativity which flows from the Liberal Party. All Albertans are becoming clear that that's the way they think. And what they have done clearly, Mr. Speaker, is just put fear in the hearts of those people who are either participating now in the pension plan or who are now receiving benefits. And certainly this government would not do that. As I've said in this House on many occasions, we think that the pension obligations are obligations of the government, that the people who receive those benefits should be secure in the notion that their payments are guaranteed by the government. And moreover, Mr. Speaker, as we have said before, we'll continue to index, without contract, without formal obligation, the benefits to those people. Now, if the member is suggesting that we, in a manner which would be typical of the Liberal Party, simply gouge those people now in the pension plans by increasing the contributions and by changing unilaterally the benefits under the plan, then clearly that would not be the course of action adopted by this government. We are much more compassionate, much more clear thinking our plans, and would find a much better resolution of the problem than one suggested by the Liberal leader.
Mr. Speaker, it's my experience in this House that when the provincial treasurer has no answer and doesn't know the facts and hasn't done his homework, he blames the issue by saying, or blames the opposition by saying they haven't done their homework. Frankly, that's getting tiring, Mr. Treasurer. Treasurer, my second question is this. Last year, you informed this Assembly that a review process was put into place by you to consider and to deal with this horrific problem, a $9 billion problem. Would you inform the House as to the recommendations that review group made to you to solve this problem?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member claims to have been here for some time. I can assure you it'll be a short time. What we have is a plan, obviously, Mr. Speaker, which deals with these very delicate and complex issues. We have a series of recommendations, but as you well know, we're not going to divulge them to the member of the Liberal Party. He wouldn't understand them to begin with, and moreover, we want to give them careful consideration, not just among the government, but among the stakeholders on a reasonable, discussed basis. That's the way we operate, contrary to what the member from Glengarry would operate.
Mr. Speaker, I regret that the Treasurer continues to consider this matter so flippantly and sees no seriousness to this problem. My last question to the Minister is this. Will the Minister confirm, based on the plan that Ontario has put into place, will the Minister confirm that this $200 million plus payment is likely what Albertans are going to have to pay to bail Alberta out of the mess that you, sir, have created?
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me assure you that nowhere in our comments have we treated this as a casual or flippant matter. Quite to the contrary. We have treated this with a great deal of thought. We have a plan in place which will deal with this whole problem, and we will reveal it when the time is appropriate. Not being forced or driven by any agenda which may satisfy the short-sightedness and the not researched position of the Liberal Party, but one which is based on a very reasoned position, well thought through, and based on sound advice, Mr. Speaker.
Red Deer North, followed by Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Deputy Premier. Premier Getty negotiated at length during the Meech Lake discussions to make sure that Albertans achieved significant gains in terms of provincial powers. And some of the goals that were achieved through these negotiations, should Meech Lake become a reality, include more say for Alberta in immigration matters, a voice in Supreme Court appointments, more control of federal transfer dollars, a veto for Alberta in constitutional matters, and the entrenchment of Senate reform discussions. Now, I appreciate the sensitivity of compromises and other accompanying resolutions being forwarded by Premier McKenna, but can we have a commitment today from the Deputy Premier that as negotiations continue, and I believe we should negotiate, we will not back off or compromise on any of the gains that have been won so far in these accord negotiations?
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member has indicated, new developments are taking place with respect to Meech Lake. The 1987 Constitutional Accord has outlined in this preamble several of the benefits to Alberta of our endorsement of that accord, which was done in this Assembly unanimously. And Mr. Speaker, we are reviewing carefully the newest proposal, which was tabled in the Assembly of the New Brunswick Legislature yesterday. And as a matter of fact, I can advise the members of the Assembly that this afternoon, later, I will be meeting with the Attorney General of New Brunswick to discuss in more detail the proposal which they have put forward.
and we are anxious to understand clearly what is being there proposed. Needless to say, we are encouraged that another province has put the 1987 Constitutional Accord before their Assembly for consideration, and we will give the new proposal careful attention, but we will, as the honourable member has asked, make sure that we do not give up the gains that were achieved for Alberta in the process of achieving the 87 Accord.
Mr. Speaker, again to the Deputy Premier, it was Premier Getty's input at Meech Lake that really opened the door for meaningful Senate reform and paved the way for 600,000 Albertans to elect their choice of senator. And again, appreciating the sensitivity of the ongoing discussions, can we have a commitment from the Deputy Premier that he will continue to use the influence of his Office of Federal Intergovernmental Affairs to continue to press for the appointment of Stan Waters?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have, of course, made our views well known, as has been indicated, over 600,000 Albertans who went to the polls to deal with that matter. We will have an opportunity to discuss the matter further with the federal Progressive Conservative members of Parliament on Friday of this week, when our caucus meets with theirs, as was pointed out in this Assembly by the Provincial Treasurer earlier this week. We will continue to use that vehicle. We are encouraged by the fact that other premiers are entering into these discussions, such as Premier Peterson's request that the matter be dealt with as soon as possible in the national interest. And of course, we will await Premier's return from his meeting in Vancouver with the other three Western Premiers, which just concluded, and his return to the House tomorrow in order to hear from him as to the progress that had been made during the course of that meeting. We are encouraged by some positive signs with respect overall to the issue of constitutional reform, because we believe strongly that this country of ours, this Canada, is worth preserving, fighting for, and protecting, and that our Assembly will pledge to do.
Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's abundantly clear that New Democrats have been at the forefront in fighting the GST, both here in Alberta and in the House of Commons in Ottawa. We've provided alternatives. We've provided alternatives for tax reform. Alberta's Member of Parliament recently organized an anti-GST blitz. We've attempted to prevent closure in the House of Commons Finance Committee. However, now that the Conservatives have brought in closure for committee study of the GST bill, the opportunity to influence the course of events is rapidly disappearing. So I'd like to ask the Provincial Treasurer this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, has this government abandoned any further efforts to fight the GST, or is the Treasurer now able to tell us what last-minute efforts they're making to try and axe the tax?
Mr. Speaker, it's curious to hear the member from Mountain View. He is much like a rooster who thought the sun had risen to hear him crow, Mr. Speaker. You know, it's interesting. We heard that the member from Mountain View was traveling at taxpayers' expense to Ottawa to fight the GST, to appear before the Finance Committee. I took some time, Mr. Speaker, to find out if he appeared before the Finance Committee to advance the case of GST. No, Mr. Speaker, no, he did not appear before the Finance Committee. Fortunately, he did not, Mr. Speaker, because it would have taken us, the government, at least 3 months to recover the ground we lost by his presence. I didn't see any Conservative members of this Assembly down there trying to fight the tax. Well, I will say this to the Provincial Treasurer, Mr. Speaker, that our caucus is prepared to set aside our partisan differences in order to block this tax. We are so concerned and so committed to stopping it. And I'd like to indicate to the government that we be prepared to work on a joint committee of this Assembly to lobby the federal government and put pressure on Alberta members of Parliament to stop this tax. Mr. Speaker, to the Treasurer, given his comment on Monday to the Leader of the Opposition that it's important that we combine forces,
Will the Treasurer do at least this much? Will he commit his government to establish a joint committee of the Assembly to fight the GST on behalf of Albertans while there's still some time left to influence the course of events?
Mr. Speaker, I do appreciate the assistance which has been provided by all parties, and not just the NDP across the way. It is very clear, as I've said in this House before, Mr. Speaker, that the champion of the anti-GST position is the Alberta government. There is no doubt that the course of action and the plan of action adopted by this government was one which has been recognized across Canada. I noticed even Mr. Nystrom, I understand, associated with the provincial NDP party, has in fact recognized the job done by this province in taking on the GST question. And let me make it also clear, Mr. Speaker, that we have met with the parliamentary committee, but we believe that one government should not appear before a parliamentary committee. We deal on a minister-to-minister or a first minister-to-first minister basis, and I have given abundant examples of the way in which we have dealt at that level. Examples, Mr. Speaker, which, in the case of the Premier, turned the tide with respect to the consolidation of provinces. At the ministerial level, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that all provinces had the research and understanding of this very complex issue, which is held by Alberta. And let me finally go on to say, Mr. Speaker, that in terms of communication, there is absolutely no doubt that the people of Alberta, as a result of the encouragement of this government, have the strongest possible opposition to GST. We believe that the GST is wrong for Alberta. We will continue to hammer that issue. Now, I will not agree, Mr. Speaker, to an all-party committee. First of all, Mr. Speaker, that's not the way in which this issue is taken on. This is a government-to-government problem. This is an intrusion into our jurisdiction. This is a centralization decision-making. This is an infringement in the traditional revenue sources of the province, Mr. Speaker. And the provinces themselves are in fact taking on this issue, and we have other steps which we'll take to continue to oppose and to continue to send the message to Ottawa that we strongly oppose the goods and services tax, Mr. Speaker.
Calgary Forest Lawn, Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For years, Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General has drawn attention to problems that post-secondary institutions have in managing budget surpluses. Yet this government, in typical Tory fashion, does nothing to implement his recommendations and thereby protect the financial interests of all Albertans. My question is to the Minister of Advanced Education. Given that students wanting programs such as computer science are turned away at the doors of the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, how does this minister justify the use of surplus operating funds to meet the needs of foreign students when our own students go lacking?
Mr. Speaker, programs authorized by the Assembly, I want to give assurance to the members, are carried out. With regard to the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, matters have come to my attention regarding budgetary matters and deficits, and I believe I've spoken on those earlier by ordering and having an emergency meeting of the board the 26th day of last month. I don't think there is a question about the use of accumulated reserves or surpluses. However, I have ordered a review of the whole question of accumulating surpluses and reserves. I expect to report shortly. That would be in accordance with the matter raised by the Auditor General. I want to give the assurance to the House that, to my knowledge, this minister, the programs authorized by this House are carried out for Alberta students.
Mr. Speaker, the colleges have to do something with their surplus funds, and the safest place would be for them to invest them in the Consolidated Cash Investment Trust Fund of the province. Then they could at least use the interest to cover their deficits or provide greater opportunities for Alberta students. My question is to the Minister, will the Minister assure this House that he will follow the recommendation which the Auditor General has been making since 1979 and commit to amending the Colleges and the Technical Institutes Act to allow them to invest their money safely in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General has made recommendations over a series of years with regard to amendments not only to the Colleges Act but the Technical Institutes Act, of which SAIT is a member. I have every intention this year of proposing legislation that will deal with the institutions investing funds in the Consolidated Investment Fund of the province of Alberta.
Edmonton Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions, Mr. Speaker, are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, the proposals for changes in daycare continue to create a level of fear and anxiety for parents and communities, indicating, I think, that there's a great deal of need there still for more information, for understanding, and for openness. One of the pieces of the puzzle, Mr. Speaker, is where family day homes fit into the whole picture. The rules here appear to be being relaxed while they're being tightened in daycare. It's come to our attention, Mr. Speaker, that the Executive Director of Family and Support Services has a close family member who has a major interest in one of Alberta's largest networks of family day homes. My question to the Minister is, can the Minister confirm that Anne Ward-Neville assists and advises the Minister regarding child care programs and the funding of these programs?
Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that Anne Ward-Neville is a very valued employee of this department, that she is a very dedicated and committed employee of this department, and I appreciate very much the assistance and advice that she provides me, and I appreciate very much the efforts that she's making on behalf of Albertans as it relates to our daycare programs here in the province of Alberta.
Mr. Speaker, thank you to the Minister. Will the Minister then tell us if the fact that Ms. Ward-Neville is related to the owner of a major family day home agency is of any concern to him related to potential conflict of interest and ethics?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, I would want to say that I resent the member casting those kinds of aspersions. We have some 6,000 employees here in the Department of Family and Social Services. And no, I can't possibly keep track of the relatives of some 6,000 employees. Clearly, we have some very appropriate guidelines for all government employees, and I'm satisfied that, again, Anne Ward-Neville, as a cherished employee of this department, is meeting all the stringent requirements that we do have in place for our government employees.
Chair has been concerned in the last 2 days, the line of some questions in the House with regard to people who do not reside or even temporarily in this House, and the Chair would then direct honourable members to reread Beauchesne 409, subsection 7. A question must adhere to the proprieties of the House in terms of inferences, imputing motives, or casting aspersions upon persons within the House or out of it. And this relates to more than one question on members. Calgary McKnight, followed by Cypress Redcliffe.
Gotta be a
Calgary McKnight, let's go, please.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. It's unusual for you to have two Liberal questions back to back.
That comment is inappropriate. Please.
Sorry.
Order, please. Thank you. Let's now go with the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question concerns the province's actual commitment to advanced education. From 1986-87 to 1988-89, federal transfer payments have increased by over $85 million. During this same period, provincial expenditures for advanced education have increased by only $31.4 million. Over $50 million of federal payments for post-secondary education have either been redirected to other government expenses or been used to reduce the province's commitment to advanced education. To the Minister of Advanced Education, why has the province used increasing transfer payment to cut its commitment to advanced education?
Mr. Speaker, I have great difficulty with the facts of the honourable member's question. The provincial treasurer is the minister responsible for negotiating transfer payments between this province and Ottawa. I can only say the honourable member is talking about the sum of some $50 million when this year's budget of advanced education dealing with 29 post-secondary institutions is over $900 million.
My next question then would be to the provincial treasurer. I would like to ask you, sir, and I know many other Albertans would want the answer to this question as well. Where has the money gone, and what have you and your colleague, the Minister of Advanced Education, done about it?
Well, Mr. Speaker, not only do the Liberals get two questions back-to-back, they get two questions built into each question, Mr. Speaker. Let me say that the whole question of budget debate, Mr. Speaker, will take place sometime after tomorrow evening, and I would imagine we'll have a string of questions which would be satisfied in this Assembly as each minister is up to defend his estimates, to talk about how his budget is built and about the fiscal and economic impacts of the Alberta budget on each of these areas. I don't think, Mr. Speaker, we should take the time of question period today to deal with an area which will be exhaustively considered in the estimates, the detailed estimates coming up over the next 2 months or so.
Cypress Radcliffe, followed by Edmonton Beverly.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Associate Minister of Agriculture. Last session I asked the Minister several questions related to the Canada-Alberta Soil Conservation Initiatives Agreement. I wonder if the Minister at this time can update the House in letting us know how many counties, MDs, rural municipalities, etc., have filed their agreements with her department.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to comment on the Soil Conservation Initiative at this time because, as all members are aware, when we approach the spring season, we are concerned about water erosion from fast water runoff, wind erosion, etc. We're also very pleased to advise the Assembly that although our agreement was not signed until July of last year, that the challenge went out to our ag service boards and to our producer groups to get involved with this. And to this date, I believe there are 67 ag service boards and 22 individual producer groups that have filed 3-year plans for a conservation initiative in all of the province. So we're extremely pleased with the commitment that all service boards and producer groups have made in this very important area in agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I wonder if the Minister has considered, being as the agreement was signed late in the season last year, and the Minister has talked about the organizations that are signing 3-year contracts. Indeed, I know some organizations such as the Alberta Wheat Pool that are just getting things going on conservation initiative. If we've considered extending the term to get it into another crop year.
Well, certainly, Mr. Speaker, we're looking at the Soil Conservation Initiative in a long-term basis, although the commitment that was signed is a 3-year program, and we are delighted with the take-up of the Alberta Wheat Pool's Conservation 2000 program, which is a voluntary program which will certainly enhance soil conservation initiatives. We will continue to monitor the progress that we make in our conservation initiative. I think that this government and the Department of Agriculture recognizes that this is a program that will be ongoing, that our commitment in this province and indeed across Canada to soil conservation must remain constant. But we'll be working very hard, as we have in the past, to maintain our commitment to preserving our soils.
Edmonton Beverly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The housing market in this province of Alberta is becoming increasingly unfair to tenants, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs finally admitted last week that there is a problem with landlords gouging tenants. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the market projections are that the problem is going to become worse rather than better, because new housing starts are not coming on stream quick enough to deal with the problem that exists today. My question is to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. Now that the Minister has finally admitted that there is a problem, will he tell us specifically what he plans to do to stabilize rental markets and to protect tenants from unfair rental increases?
Mr. Speaker, the comment with regards to gouging in the marketplace was a matter that concerned me very much, in which some of the facilities that are being purchased in the province of Alberta are being flipped 2 or 3 times, and in that process excessive rents are the result. And I'm concerned about that, and I certainly issued a warning out to the community that gouging of that type is not an item to be tolerated. I want to say this with regards to what action is the government taking. The action is significant. First of all, I've met with the construction, with the rental people in both Edmonton and Calgary, and discussed the issue and opened the doors as much as possible and encouraged them to move into the marketplace to build facilities in the rental opportunities. Secondly, I've opened the doors with regards to discussion with the cities of Edmonton and Calgary, so at the municipal level we can move through land development and into construction as quickly as possible. The third item that we've looked at is the whole area of rent supplement opportunities, where people that are in need require the rent supplement support in terms of moving into housing. We've made that available as well. The other area that is growing quickly in this province and has, in a sense, grown significantly over last year's construction is in the single-family residence area. It is projected this year that some 17,000 single-family residences will be built in the province, which creates new opportunity and certainly opens up the rental market area for vacancy possibilities. Now, those are some of the things we're doing, Mr. Speaker. There are others we're contemplating as well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Of course, those are long-term projects. We're worried about the 30-40% increases in rent are occurring right at the moment, and wonder what you're going to do about that. The next question is to the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs, Mr. Speaker. And Alberta is the only province, or one of 3 provinces, which refuses to protect tenants through some form of rental stabilization. And tenants now have had enough of government inaction. As a matter of fact, on Monday of this week, a group of tenants met and formed a Edmonton Tenants Association to do what this government is not doing, and that is to establish some rights for tenants. My question to the Minister is, will the Minister take away the alleged rights that landlords have to gouge tenants and move now to protect tenants?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is very general with respect to his question. What alleged rights and what should be taken away, I'm not sure. I have informed the honourable member and members of this House previously that we are expecting soon a residential tenancies report. The members of that committee, in consultation with Albertans generally, have been asked to review aspects of that legislation to ensure that we have a fair and an honest marketplace, and I expect that to take place. Mr. Speaker, I should mention to honourable members that while I agree with the Minister of Municipal Affairs in terms of this government having no sympathy for those landlords who might abuse the system, in a general sense, the rental rates did not, as of our last statistics, reach the point that rents were in 1983. So in terms of Albertans generally, there is a catch-up period in the marketplace which is required in order to make sure there is more accommodation and that all Albertans have the accommodation required. I'm interested in the member's suggestions and look forward to a more specific question at another date in terms of the rights that he's talking of.
Innisfail, followed by Edmonton Strathcona, if there's time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister responsible for forestry, lands and wildlife. The Wildlife Management Unit 220, which covers the eastern portion of the constituency of Innisfail, recently allotted and allowed for 14 white-tailed deer to be taken at a cost of $1,100 each by guided non-residential hunters. Could the Minister indicate where in Unit 220 these hunters may fill their licenses.
Mr. Speaker, there's the new policy on outfitting and guiding for Alberta allows a maximum of 10% of the allowable harvest to be for non-residents. I can't speak specifically on 220, but I believe there, on wildlife management 220, but I believe that there's a fair amount of private land there, and the outfitter or the hunter would have to get written permission from the landowner, and if he had to have access to the land, but that would give him the right, if he has that permission, to hunt anywhere in wildlife management 220.
Mr. Speaker, could the minister reply to concerns raised by some of my constituents due to the amount that will be charged by the outfitters to provide service, and because the majority of the land in this area is privately owned? Does the minister think that this will lead to fees for access being levied by landowners or paid hunting?
No, Mr. Speaker, definitely not. And because under Section 49(1) of the Wildlife Act, it strictly prohibits that. In fact, I believe it says that you shall not indirectly or directly barter or trade in an effort to sell access for the purposes of hunting. And there are very strict fines, in fact, up to $2,000 and 1 month in jail or both if you're convicted of that. So, no, Mr. Speaker, I don't believe it will lead to it, and if it does, they'll be prosecuted.
Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs. It's become plain, Mr. Speaker, that if the Meech Lake Accord is to be saved, it will only be saved by a companion or parallel resolution. The Premier of New Brunswick unveiled his yesterday, and if you look at it, it identifies very largely the same problems that the New Democrats identified in this province after our task force in 1987, which formed the basis for our amendments to the resolution then before the House. Mr. Speaker, will the Minister undertake to revisit our 1987 amendments or any other sources of inspiration to come up with the province's own proposals to save Meech Lake and the country?
Time for question period has expired. May we have unanimous consent to complete this series of questions? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I welcome the question, and view of the earlier questions from the Honourable Member for Red Deer North. It certainly is, we're going to take a look at everything possible to deal with the issue, and I appreciate the tone and tenor of the question in the sense that the Honourable Member recognizes the very serious problems facing this country in the event that constitutional reform is stymied, and this province and the other provinces, the federal government, are driven away from the constitutional table for an extended period of time without full participation from all the partners in Confederation. So I will certainly review the debates in our legislature in conjunction with these new proposals, and all ideas that have been identified by the province of New Brunswick will be explored later this afternoon, as I indicated, with the Attorney General of that province, and our Premier will continue his leadership efforts with the other premiers to try and resolve this very difficult situation facing our country.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker, to the Minister. Since it's plain that we need more time now to see this process through, will the Minister undertake to have someone in his department examine the legal underpinnings to the alleged necessity of the accords being implemented, being signed by the 23rd of June of this year, since there is, Mr. Speaker, a respectable body of opinion that says that that deadline is a myth?
The Honourable Member has obviously touched on an interesting point. There has been a disagreement amongst constitutional scholars and experts as to whether or not there is a deadline date of June the 23rd of 1990 for the implementation of the accord. Careful consideration of the situation has led our government to believe that that deadline does in fact exist. But we are, of course, prepared to re-examine all legal opinions and
those advanced by scholars and constitutional experts throughout the country, and I'm aware of the honourable member's interest in this matter and his concern for what will happen if, in fact, the 23rd of June passes with Canada in the constitutional impasse, which would lead, I believe, to very serious strains on the fabric of Confederation. And I wish to avoid that. I'm sure the honourable member and all members of this Assembly would wish to avoid that dilemma of being placed before the Canadian people. So certainly we'll examine that along with other methods of dealing with this in a reasonable and, as the Premier stated, in the spirit of compromise and understanding and caring for Canada.
Chair has, I'd like to ask a question of the Edmonton Centre and the Minister of Health. Have discussions taken place as directed by the Chair on 2 separate occasions? Yes or no, Edmonton Centre?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Health?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Chair has reviewed the blues. Finds it most unusual that the Chair has to ask members 2 and 3 times, and if it doesn't occur, it's a bit difficult for the Chair in the operation of the House. The Chair has reviewed the blues for the day March the 16th when the Minister spoke to the House in response to a question as raised by Edmonton Centre, the text of which was, "I have written to the Minister of National Health and Welfare and told him that the province of Alberta will do everything we can to ensure that those immunization levels come up, and in fact have impelled the federal government to please take note of the level of immunization, particularly on that reserve." In the opinion of the Chair, this is not a matter of citing the document or citing the letter, and again would refer all honourable members to citation in Beauchesne 495.3. A public document referred to but not cited or quoted by a minister need not be tabled. And subsection 5, to be cited, a document must be quoted or specifically used to influence debate. The admission that a document exists or the reading of the salutation or address of a letter does not constitute citing. Therefore, there is no point of order with respect to the one raised. The purported point of order is raised by the member for Edmonton Centre. Chair recognizes Vegreville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a point of order, if I may, in reference to Standing Order 65.3, subsection 3, there was some correspondence between myself, the Clerk of the House, and yourself regarding the need for the Leader of the Official Opposition to have a copy of the report on the Electoral Boundaries Committee that was tabled by the member for Tabor-Warner. I can appreciate some of the reasons given by you in note to me that there's a lot of things going on in the House today with the number of standing orders and reports tabled and files, etc., like that, and things like that that require a lot of effort on the part of the pages. But I think it's important to point out that the Leader of the Official Opposition has a great number of responsibilities as well, responding to ministerial statements, preparing for question period, and will of course be called upon to respond to the contents of the report tabled by the member for Tabor-Warner. The clerk made it known to me that the report would be distributed to all members at the end of the question period so that everyone got it at the same time. I just don't think that gives the Leader of the Official Opposition reasonable opportunity to do the job that's expected of him. And I refer to the section in Standing Orders 65 sub 3 that says all documents which come into the possession of a committee or which are prepared by or for a committee belong to the committee until the committee reports or ceases to exist, whichever occurs first, after which they belong to the Assembly. And looking as well at Erskine May, page 215, regarding the distribution of parliamentary papers, where it says that copies of parliamentary papers are made available to members of Parliament as soon as they are issued. Again, I realize that it's difficult to distribute everything to all members at the same time, especially when there are a number of things that need to be distributed, but in this case I think it's important that the report be in the hands of the Leader of the Official Opposition as soon as possible after it's filed, and I'd like to know on what basis the distribution of things like this is deemed to be discretionary, and wondering what sort of precedent this might be establishing, Mr. Speaker.
Well, with due respect, Honourable Member, this is a complaint, and the purpose of that situation really ought to be dealt with in a private fashion, as we were attempting to do in the exchange of notes during question period, which just adds to the fun of being Speaker, trying to do rulings and attempted rulings and all the rest of it while question period's going on. Thank you very much. This is the third time I've had to warn various caucuses about interruption when the chair is trying to get a message across. The chair wants to make it very abundantly clear that in terms of the operation of the House, that we are doing our utmost to be able to get the information to members of the House as soon as we have it. There's a cardinal principle also to be noted here, and it's this, that if there's a report to come to the House, that it comes to the House and it doesn't go to be distributed, for example, to the general public or to the media, or to be before members in the House have a chance to get it themselves first. Because any committee, as in the case of Electoral Boundaries Committee, is a committee of this House. Now, in the flurry and the confusion and the exhilaration of what transpires here in the first hour and a half of the day, I believe that we, as an operational side, have been doing our utmost to be able to get the information to all members in the House. Now, again, as pointed out in the note to the Honourable Member from Vegreville, we also directed that as soon as possible we would get a copy to the Leader of the official opposition. We are very much aware of the fact, the extra responsibilities of the Leader of the official opposition, and for that part, the Leader of the third party. But all I can say here is that this is not establishing anything new here. We're doing our level best to be able to serve this House, and the Chair takes a certain amount of displeasure on behalf of the table officers and staff at the method of the criticism and the fact it's being raised in the House. It's entirely out of order. Now, let's go to Standing Order 40 requests, which is also part of the problem today of trying to deal with a fair, interesting number of challenges at the same time. As pointed out earlier under Standing Order 40, first one to be recognized is Calgary McKnight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to urgency, because this is International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, a perfect opportunity exists for us today to discuss issues of racism and to indicate strong support for tolerant practices which indicate our respect for pluralism and for the Canadian mosaic, for the dignity of all persons regardless of the color of their skin. I, as a former member of the Tolerance and Understanding Committee, as well as all members of this House who are leaders, know that discrimination and racism is caused by fear, by lack of knowledge, by mistrust of everyone who is different. A discussion now, today, could dispel some of this fear and misunderstanding. It is urgent that we send out a strong signal to all minorities, not only visible minorities, that we see their presence in our society as a gift and as an enriching situation. Urgency also exists because so many Albertans are swamping offices of Alberta MPs and offices of many MLAs with reactions to the recent RCMP decision. By debating this issue today, we could explain why the decision was made and why we as leaders support the decision, why we as leaders fight racism every step of the way. Thank you.
Understanding Order 40. Those in favor of giving unanimous consent for this matter to proceed, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. No. Request fails. Edmonton Gold Bar. Edmonton Gold Bar.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased today to speak to a notice of motion that all members have received regarding the federal government's recognition of the new government of Namibia. Mr. Speaker, this recognition has taken place within the week, and I think it's important, if we are to recognize the action of our federal government, that we do so today, Mr. Speaker. We have waited for this day for a long time. All of the world has waited and watched the process in Namibia, and I believe that, Mr. Speaker, it is incumbent on us to congratulate this country and to congratulate and thank our federal government for taking the action they did as quickly as they did.
Again, understanding Order 40, those in favor of giving consent for the matter to proceed, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Request fails. Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask for unanimous consent to debate as a matter of urgency the following resolution. Be it resolved that this Assembly wishes to commemorate today as International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination declared by the United Nations, that this Assembly is of the opinion that in the context of recent incidents of racism, racial discrimination can be reduced in Alberta through the leadership of members of this legislature, and that this Assembly urges the government to take immediate and substantive action to provide financial and policy support to programs throughout the government which will work towards the elimination of racial discrimination. And Mr. Speaker, in speaking to the urgency of the motion, I point out that Albertans are waiting for some leadership from this government in combating racial discrimination. Recent events in this province have shown only too clearly that intolerance still exists in this province of Alberta, and it is supported by the silence of many of our elected officials. And the urgency is required because in the wake of silence, much of the intolerance is allowed to go on and expanded. On March 19th in this Assembly, the Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism stated that we should all speak up when we encounter examples of racism, but he failed to condemn racism outright. That sends a message of equivocation to all minorities in Alberta. Furthermore, that minister said that he was not responsible for minority rights. But how can he hope to promote equality for all people if he fails to understand that racial discrimination underlies cultural intolerance? The government must provide alternatives about how to reduce racism. Pious platitudes don't keep people safe on the streets or provide them with equal access to opportunities. Albertans need to have some indication from this Assembly that we will provide real action to eliminate racism. They need to know that the government will support more than just singing and dancing. Albertans, again...
Honourable Member, this is speaking to urgency. Urgency, please conclude.
It's urgent that Albertans know the real position of this government on racism, Mr. Speaker. Last week, some members of ministers said they supported the Federal Solicitor General's statement about the RCMP uniform, while others equivocated. And then on the weekend, a member of this Assembly came out with racist and intolerant statements. We need to know who speaks for the government, Mr. Speaker, and what is the real message. This is an urgent matter. Today we have the opportunity to join with people all over the world in saying enough is enough. Today we can prove that to Albertans that we honor the principle of equality of opportunity, and we can debate the kinds of actions which are possible for this Assembly to take on this important issue. Today we can eliminate one...
Thank you, Honourable Member. Thank you. That's sufficient on Standing Order 30, thank you. 40, rather. Request those in favor of giving unanimous consent for the motion for the matter to proceed, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. No. Matter fails. The Chair has had an unusual communication. The Minister of Workers, Occupational Health and Safety would like to correct some information given in question period earlier today, and for the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. In my answer to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, I suggested that we had showers in place In reading my notes, I notice I erred. The showers are to be installed, and they're not in place at this time, so I want to correct that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. Orders of the day. Sorry, what else have I got here? The next order of business is actually dealing with second readings. And before we get into that, the chair would just briefly like to remind honorable members of a couple of quotes. The references are there indeed in Beauchesne with respect to second readings.